Wrapping up the NHL trade deadline recaps today. The first video here, we're talking about Nazem Kadri going back to the Colorado Avalanche. So the full trade, we have Nazem Kadri and a 2027 fourth round pick going to the Colorado Avalanche. And the Avs send the Flames Victor Olofsson, prospect Maximilian Curin, a 2028 conditional first round pick, and a 2027 conditional second round pick. Also note that the Flames are retaining $1.4 million on Kadri's contract. So Colorado's getting a player they're familiar with. 35-year-old Nazem Kadri played with Colorado from 2019 to 2022, won a Stanley Cup with the team. His numbers aren't that great on Calgary this season, but he was leading the team in points, 12 goals, 41 points in 61 games. However, his quality of teammates is really not that great in Calgary. And last season, when they were a better team, he had 35 goals. Kadri has 3 more years on his contract after this season, and considering his age, it's a little bit risky, but the $1.4 million retention lowers his cap hit to $5.6 million. And with the rising salary cap, as long as he doesn't fall drastically off a cliff in the next season, then I think the contract was pretty fair and won't be too much of an anchor by the end. But the Avs know what they're getting in Nazem Kadri. He's a player that likes to carry the puck in transition. He's 8th in zone entries per game amongst forwards, 20th in rush chances, 25th in scoring chances, 24th in O-zone possession time. I think that's probably because he is the guy in Calgary offensively, so in Colorado that will lower. He's a very solid offensive player. He's got good playmaking skills, unreal hands. He has a high tendency to shoot and can score some big goals. Scored an OT winner back in that 2022 Stanley Cup Finals to give Colorado a 3-2 series lead. Obviously, he's an agitator as well. He got suspended, I think, 3 times in the playoffs. So as long as he can stay disciplined, then he can be a really effective player. His role is going to decrease significantly as well. He doesn't have to be the guy like he was in Calgary. And the center depth of the Avalanche is ridiculous with McKinnon, Nelson, Kadri, Nick Waugh, and Jack Drury. So if you could have Kadri as a third line or second line scorer, then that's just incredible depth for this team. And like I said, sure, he's 35 years old, but the Avs are trying to win right now. And with the addition of Kadri, I think you have to consider them the Stanley Cup favorites if they weren't already. And then you also get the 2027 fourth, which, I mean, it's just a future asset that they could use potentially. And I think after all that being said, as a grade, I'm going to give Colorado an A- on this deal. And for the Flames, you move on from Kadri. It does suck that you do have to retain on his deal, but this is a very solid package still. Now, the condition for the 2028 first-round pick is that if Colorado gets a top 10 pick in 2027, then Toronto will get the 2028 first instead, and then Calgary would get the 2029 first-round pick. However, the likely outcome is that the Leafs get the 2027 first, and then Calgary will get the 2028 first. Obviously, the Avalanche are a really good team, but if it's a 28 or 29 first, there's potential that they might fall off, and it could be a valuable pick. But even so, if it's the late 20s or 30s, then it's still a decent pick. And then the 2027 conditional second is that it is the better of Colorado or Minnesota's 2027 second round pick. So that pick could be in the 50s or early 60s potentially. And then the prospect is 19-year-old centerman Max Curin, 5th round pick by the Avalanche in 2024. Pretty solid production in the WHL, 41 points in 31 games for the Edmonton Oil Kings this season. Not a blue chip prospect by any means, but just an added depth, future potential player for this team. And you get Victor Olofsson, who's actually just a cap dump in this trade, $1.575 million for this season. Then he's an unrestricted free agent. But he's actually had a very solid season for the Colorado Avalanche and has provided some solid depth scoring for the team. So it does suck that they're moving on from him. But for the Flames, he's a player that they can just use for the rest of this season and bring back in the offseason. And if not, then it's just part of the deal that had to be done. And for the Flames, I don't like the retention, but it's a 35-year-old player, so I think a first-second prospect is a solid return. So as a grade, I'll give them an A- as well. So those were my thoughts on the Nazem Kadri to Colorado trade. Let me know yours down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.